Now let's take a look at how to render out our takes. So for this, we're going to be using a much simpler scene file. We'll grab a bottle from the bathroom scene, and we're just going to be using it just because it'll render a lot faster and we can see the difference really quickly. So we've got a bottle material and then a bottle cap material on there. We've just got one main take. So let's say we want to create some variation. We're going to create a bottle with different colors for the body. So to do that, I need a few new takes. So let's say this is bottle blue, bottle red, and let's make this one bottle green. So in each of these new takes, we want to change the material. So we'll select the take, then select the material, go to color, override that color. And for this one, it's going to be blue, so we'll choose a blue color. Okay, for the red one, we'll do the same thing here. We'll add a red as an override. And then for the green, we're going to add some green. So something like that. So now we've got our blue, red, and green, and our white. So what if we wanted to render these? We've got some nice lighting set up, let's say. In this we don't, but let's say we did. And we wanted to render up some variation very quickly of all the different takes that we have. Well, one of the ways we could do this would just be to go to render, render all takes to picture viewer. So remember, we've got white, blue, red, and green. Let's do that. And suddenly it rendered all of those takes. So just named it the file name, and then we've got all those takes in there. So now we can really quickly cycle through and see which ones we like. Okay, and the rendering that's happening here is happening based on our render setting. Also, I should mention you can team render as well. So the render setting that it's using, if we come over here, is located here. And it has the size and the anti-aliasing settings, and all this stuff is contained within this render setting. And right now, all of these renders are using this particular render setting, but we can set up variation. Let's say we wanted to render a low res and a high res of each one of these takes. We could set that up here. Let's start by setting up our base. Think of this as kind of like the main take for our rendering. So for this, let's make this a little bit higher resolution. So change the resolution here. We can also go into save, and we can choose where we want to save it. So we'll go into the project files, go into renders, create a folder there called renders, and I'm just going to call this bottle and hit save. So this is how it's going to come in. We'll change this in a second, but let's leave that as is. We want this to carry over to our next render setting. Now the render setting is kind of like a take. If I right click here, you can see I can create a new render setting or a new child. Let's create a new child of this render setting. Okay, now this one, I want to make it lower resolution. So I'll leave everything except in the output, I'll change this to maybe 640 by 480. So now when we click on these, you can see the difference. Let's go ahead and rename these. So I'm going to call this render high, and we'll call this one render low. Now, what we want to do is assign our renders to these different takes. So right now, if you take a look here, you can see our take assignment is just main. And if I click on render low and do the same thing, take assignment, it's not, there's nothing selected at all. So we need to tell Cinema 4D which of our render settings we want to use for these takes. So to do that, we're going to click on this little icon right over here, and let's just click on low. So we're going to render low resolution versions of this. Now when we click on this low over here, take assignment, you can see all of those are selected. So I want to create a high version too, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste. And then for these, I'm going to change these to high. So now we have 3 that are low and 3 that are high. I'm going to go ahead and take the 1 off of the end here. So we have 3 low and 3 high, and we want to render those out. You can see now when we choose that, you can see those selected. And one of the cool things that we can do here is we can use variables in our paths so that we can insert whatever take name or whatever render setting name is in there. And so let's go into save. We've got render high selected. So we'll use tokens to do this. So I'm going to use $take, and wherever Cinema 4D sees that, it's going to insert the actual name of the take. So bottle red, bottle blue, and so forth. After that, I'm going to insert another token that is going to be RS, which is the render setting. Okay, and because this is a child, this is carrying through. So now that we've got that set, let's take a look at what our folder looks like. So right now it's empty. We have 6 takes, 3 different variations, and 2 different resolutions, right? So let's go in now and say render all takes to picture viewer. So we're going to go in, it's going to render all those out. You can see we've got a white high version, a blue high, red high, green high, and then we've got the 3 low versions. So the main take was included only in the high version. If we could go ahead and take a look, you can see under high, the main take was selected. So let's jump into our folder and see what that actually created. So now there's a folder called bottle. That's where I input the name bottle inside our renders folder. So it created us a new folder. If we open that up, you can see there's a bottle blue folder, bottle green, and bottle red. So a folder for each of our takes. If we jump into those takes, you can see we now have a high resolution image, which is our correct size, and a low resolution image. So you can really quickly create different sizes of renders and different settings, really. If you want to have different lighting setups, you can do that. So here's green, and then here's our red. So those variable names are going to be a great tip for when you go in and create these renders using our different takes and using our different render settings. Let's go ahead and finish up in the next lesson by talking about annotating takes.